another instalment of Before the Fight. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Shannon O'Connell. Shannon, how are you?
I'm great to be back.
And Joel Camako, mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Coming up on this episode is our At Home with Andrew Moloney, where we catch up with him. And our Gym of the Week this week was Allstar. As always, we've got Camako Carpool. As always, the Tolj tapes bringing us up to what's happening internationally and abroad. But let's start our very first segment with our guest from the boxing shop, Shara Romer. Shara, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Good. Now, we've brought you on the show because we want to talk a little bit about something that's a subject that we're not hearing enough of lately, which is female trainers in sport, and especially female trainers in boxing. Now, there's a divide in the boxing shop where you've got your fighters and Gareth's got his fighters. How does that work out?
It kind of works out. So I take everyone, male, female, right up to past, just onto youth level, and then they move on to seniors if they're males. But if they're females, they stay with me because Gareth can't handle the females.
How do you find relating to the girls as opposed to relating to the boys as a trainer? Is there any difference?
Yeah, the girls always want to know, why are we doing this? And the boys just go, yep, okay, and go do it.
How many girls are you training at the moment?
So at the moment, I've probably got about 5 or 6, and then I've got Taylor as a pro, and the rest are the youth boys.
When it comes to like the classes with the guys who want to fight and the ones who don't want to fight, do you find there's a lot more people in the classes that don't want to fight, or the ones that want to fight?
There's a lot that don't. So we want more kids to follow the sport, so the sport gets bigger in Australia, and then we get more participation, and then boxing grows in Australia rather than just cricket, football, all the usual sports.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of trainer rivalry between you and Gareth? Like, who's the better trainer?
No rivalry at all, mate. No.
This is the queen.
She just lets Gareth think that he's the better trainer, but she knows.
I don't think she'd let Gareth think that.
Yeah, no. You got to
she
work
does.
in ways with you, men. I've figured out.
How long did that take you to figure out?
12 years.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Tell us about Taylor and the relationship you have with her.
I remember one particular time, I think we were in Ireland, and we were there for the Celtic Cup, and I go up with her, and she looks at me and she goes, "Is it just me and you?" I said, "Yes, mate, let's get in, let's go, get it done." And I think she beat one of the world champions of that fight. So the trust was there, and she knows that I know what I'm talking about and understands and trusts that I know the process.
Any tips for young girls coming up in the game?
Don't get a boyfriend.
Yeah. Look, I think the hardest stage in amateur boxing for male or female is from going from youth into elite. So when they hit that 18, it's like, right, I can go to nightclub. I don't mind this. Yeah. And they might not drink when they're out there, but it's still the late night that gets them as well. And I kind of just say, look, when they get to that age, don't be so harsh on them. Let them have a life, because if you keep pulling them back, they're just going to push harder to get out and do what they want, and could go the other way.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, there's so many kids that are just smashed into the sport, and you see it a lot in the amateurs, and they're guns, and then you just never, they hit that 15, 16-year-old mark and they don't come back.
And it's a dedicated sport. You actually got to live the lifestyle at that age.
If you want to be at a high level, you can't half-ass it, and then that's probably the hardest thing for teenagers.
What about young female trainers coming up in the game? Any advice for them?
Experience. But along the way, I did sacrifice a ton. Like for a good 5 years, I travelled with the Australian team and missed out on my kids' birthdays, going to school, like just all different stuff. I think the longest I was away one time was like 6 weeks, and that is tough. Like, it's tough for the boxers, but it's also tough as a mum with, I think I was 2 kids under 8, and they don't get it.
Now, the stable's looking pretty good. Talk to us about that. You've got Terramona in there, Jack, Taylor, Jess Cashman. It seems like it's coming along really well at the boxing shop.
Terramona is a massive one to watch. You saw him on the last show at the end of last year.
And signed 2 Tasman fighters now?
Yep.
Yep.
Absolute entertainer. Absolute lovely bloke. Like,
he stole my hairdresser for his last fight.
And that goes with the same as Jack. Like, we've got pretty good personalities. They're lovely kids.
obviously there are going to be those times where, you know, there's a bit of doubt about the sport and such. What do you say to them in those times?
It was just learn, and being repetitive in things that they were learning, and pretty much just going, you know, keeping their spirits high, because there's nothing more worse than training and not fighting.
So people like 2020, yeah, it was a year of there was no boxing available, but some boxers go that long without being able to get a fight.
You've had similar years
yeah,
to
like,
that, yeah.
And you've just got to keep ticking over. Like the people that stop and have to start again, they're the people that are going to struggle when something does come up.
It's up to the fighter. Some fighters, even when COVID's not around, they're going to go out on the Friday night, get them the piss and whatever. With the other fighter on Friday night's going to go to the gym and train. So as long as you have goals, it doesn't matter what's happening in the world, you're going to keep improving.
I think too, it forced everyone to have a look at themselves, like you're saying, like, what do I need to work on? And I think, look, as much as how bad it was, for fighters, I think looking within yourself and seeing where your gaps were in your fight game is one of the best things you can do.
I think you've said it brilliantly, and there's a lot of great points there for young fighters coming up and young trainers coming up as well. Check out the Boxing Shop, always doing great stuff there. Obviously, Gareth was one of the original hosts on the couch before he had to take on that mentoring program on Monday mornings, which, you know, again, great stuff that the Boxing Shop's out there doing, helping kids at school. So if you get a chance, go out there and check them out. Shara Romer, thanks for being on Before the Fight.
Thanks for having us.
Our Gym of the Week this week is Allstar Boxing Academy. We went out to Pine Rivers and we caught up with Benny Harrington and the boys, and we had a great time, and this is how it went down.
We've been at the PCYC here at Launton for 4 years. Before that I was running a gym over at Bracken Ridge called Camako Boxing, the one that I boxed for my whole life. So after 2 or 3 years there, I started my own one over here with Allstar Boxing, and yeah, it's going gangbusters, so we're full steam ahead. There's a very good family culture here, so right through from the 5-year-old through to your Liam Wilson, Miles and Vegas kind of guys. That's something that I'm very proud of, that not only I've created, everybody here's created. It's not my gym, it's everybody's gym. So the way that, you know, the little kids walk in and the adults shake their hands, and the little kids shake the adults' hands, it's a very respectful place.
Now, you know, I've been coming for the last 6 years, so, you know, these kids I grew up with, you know, some from 8 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, and they're just all grown up with me. You know, obviously, this is my workplace as well. You know, it's numerous things to me. It's home. My second home anyway. Always keep in mind there's little kids that look up to me watching in the crowd. They're watching from home. You know, I finished the fight and I got messages from them, so I know that they're watching me and I have to, well, not let them down. You know, I've got little kids at home as well, so I feel like it's all the same sort of thing.
It's great, you know, the coaches, all the fighters, there's a lot of good fighters here to, you know, compare yourself to, challenge yourself against. So obviously there's like a benchmark that, like with Liam, that I'm trying to live up to, and then I've got a lot of kids looking up to me. So it's good. Yeah, it pushes me to be a better version of myself. This is where I've been since I was a kid. Benny, I've been really close with Benny since I came here, so yeah, this gym's my everything.
I called Benny because he has too many fighters. I didn't want to just be a number. And then he told me, like, I only train a couple, like, of the pro boys. They just lined up really good, So yeah, that was the move.
Since I came, Benny's always put a lot of effort into me, a lot of work, giving me a lot of time.
You know, it hasn't changed since day one. He's very eager to learn new things, try new things.
He's a really good coach.
How did with Benny Harrington?
Mate, it is a struggle. Nah, he's good, bro. It's easy. Everything. Teaches me everything. He's taught me everything from the start. I've come over and boxed with him after I finished up with Shane Knox, and just everything in life taught me everything. It's like a church. It's the only place I can compare it to, that sacredness. To me anyway, and to a lot of other people that come here. We get a lot of kids here, man, that haven't had a lot of opportunities and stuff, or, you know, it's not quite right at home. They come here and they feel safe. They feel that love. They feel that you know, that desire. They can be something. They watch and they see Liam, see Ben Hussein, they see all these other good amateurs that have come through, and they just, I don't know, man, it's just a super special place.
Just the atmosphere of the place. It's the way people talk to each other, how we respect each other in the gym. We're always learning. it's good being in the corner with Ben, especially Ben, especially Chris Evers as well. He's another coach that's a part of Allstar Boxing as well. Tahoe and Paul Utai.
In my opinion, an amateur is a big part of Allstar Boxing because there's a lot of amateurs here. It makes you feel really good because you know that you're in a good gym.
Well, Vegas is the first one that's really come from the start. He started at the start. It's an amazing feeling. But in saying that, without sounding like an idiot, I'm not shocked. I believe in our system. I believe that getting them young and then keeping them all the way through, I think that's what differentiates us between our gym and a lot of others. And I hope that every gym has Pee-wee boxing, and then boxing in Australia just flourishes, because that's what it takes. It's going to take to get these kids young, keep them in the sport, and hopefully we can produce some champions. Well, obviously Liam's got a few fights lined up. He's on with Matty Rhodes. Vegas and Moles are teamed up with Phil Murphy from Oxmart, who's a big supporter of the gym. And we've got young Jake Dixon, who's making his debut. 2021 should be hopefully bigger than 2020.
Billy Dibb had a good win against Joey Bale in 7th round TKO, and now there's been an eventuation from there. What are we hearing, Joel?
Kyle McKenzie I think he's booked in to fight Kane Clark. It was booked in a while ago, got cancelled, and it got booked again, and they've been promoting that. But then last night I seen on social media that Billy Dibb's called him out and he's responding, so who knows what's happening? I don't actually know.
Good to see Billy get the gloves back on. He's had a bit of a stop-start over the last 4 or 5 years. There was a fight with Amir Khan.
If Kai's fighting Kane Clark, you can't look past him first. You've got to get your job done first. Billy Dibb's calling him out. He's responding, fair enough, but get your job done first and then talk about it.
And from there, unfortunate news about Justice. There's a couple of different stories getting around. That's probably not what's important. What is important is the fact that he has failed a concussion test and has been pulled out of his fight against Porter on the All-Stars card up in Townsville. We're wishing Justice all the best and his whole team there, and hoping for a speedy recovery. Hopefully he's still eligible for the Olympics.
Stu Duncan's got to get a big shout out for that concussion testing that he's got going on. Like that's how they caught it, and I think it's great.
Great to see head injury assessments, much like rugby league in boxing, Joel.
Yeah, no, it's good that they've actually pulled out Justice Honey from this fight, because he's still young. He's got the Olympics coming up. His pro career has just begun, so rest his head a bit and then get back when he needs to.
Wishing Justice all the best, and I'm sure he's going to have still a very bright 2021 and a great career ahead of him. Our next segment is At Home, and this week we went down across the border and checked out Andrew Moloney.
That's right. We're coming down with a bit of boxing.
Exactly
right.
Righto.
Come down doing the block.
No better way to wake up than and warm up for the gym than some competitive table tennis, and get the reflexes going, get the switch on, but have a good laugh, and then we're getting to the hard work.
He's come back after that last fight. He's got something to prove again, Every training camp's a continuation from the one before, and we're just going back to the technique, working back on the basics at the moment, and then soon he'll start sparring and we'll be back into it. Yeah.
I'm better at everything than he is, but especially table tennis. Being able to have someone, a training partner and a sparring partner, at such a high level to work with every single day, and obviously because we're brothers as well, we're so competitive against each other, so we're constantly lifting each other to another level and trying to get better and better and trying to outdo each other or trying to help each other to get to the next levels. It's a really good feeling to improve every single day. We've got a great team around us, and I feel like me and Jason both improve every single day. We leave the gym a better fighter, and you can't ask for anything more than that. Yeah, it is a second home, but it's also a place that I can come and switch off from everything else and have a laugh and not think about anything else in the world other than just having fun, boxing, improving as a fighter and getting ready for the next test, which is, at the moment, a trilogy against Joshua Franco.
Yeah, so Lee's been coming here since he was about 3 or 4 months old. Obviously living where we do, it was really important for us to get him into swimming lessons when he was little. So he now comes twice a week and he's gotten really good. He's a good little swimmer. Little Lee Moloney, he started really young, which is wonderful. Young swimmers turn into strong swimmers. I guess that's going to be just like his dad.
So this is our home, and you're watching At Home with Andrew Moloney. With what we went through last year, I had to spend 5 months away from home and got a young son, as you've seen today, and you know, there was a lot of pressure on Charles to look after everything at home and him all on our own.
I mean, last year was really disappointing. I mean, I've been at every single fight for almost 10 years with Andrew, and I've always been in his corner and, you know, been there for him through everything. You know, I felt really guilty not being there because I know how devastated Andrew was and how upset and disappointed he was. So for me not to be able to be there and then have to wait for him to be in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks before I was able to give him a hug and, you know, just comfort him, that was a tough year.
So these are the ones on display. I do have a couple more, but start with the Australian title, OPBF title, Commonwealth title, Commonwealth Games gold medal. This is what a gold medal looks like up close. This is the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games. I was pretty proud to bring home the gold, and then a week later, proposed to Chelsea and got engaged. So pretty
successful.
Pretty good time in our lives.
If he didn't win the gold medal, would you still have said yes?
Absolutely.
Once I win this fight against Franco, I'll put it out on show. Franco, that title was mine and you know it, and I'm coming to get it.
Moving from there, the contract has finally been signed between Dennis Hogan and Tim Tszyu. So that is now official. Both boys definitely in camp and that fight going ahead. So good things to be seen there.
The posters come out. They're saying the 31st of March. Heaps of people are posting that up, but as I said, to be announced the venue. So I'm hearing around the Gold Coast or maybe Newcastle. There's three places they're talking about right now. So
there's been a change of opponents. Mose Alamatagi is out and Faris is in against Blake Caparello. Talk to us about this.
Faris received a message from Bilal Rashaya and said, "You want to fight Blake?" And he's said, "Yeah, I'll fight." Next thing you know, Faris has put up a post, and Sam doesn't back down from no challenges. You know, I know him as my ex-trainer for 6.5 years. He's called me up. Does Faris want the fight? And then he goes, call him up now. I called Faris. Next thing you know, the fight was put together in a matter of like 10 minutes.
Well, big shout-outs to Bilal. He's a big fan of the show, and to Sam for getting this fight together. So I think you're going to see a lot of baiting and feinting from Faris while he tries to move off that angle and try and get Blake to come forward out of that defensive counter-strike, you know, and that's where he's going to try and make the difference there.
Phil Austin will not be putting his hand up to ref that fight.
He doesn't want to trip over Blake Caparello's foot again. Shout outs to Phil Austin. He's always a big fan. We love him as well. The Tolj tapes. Always love him. This is what he's had to say about everything happening internationally. Mate, what is happening on the international scene?
Only just today they've announced that after Canelo's next fight, he's next up with Billy Joe Saunders. So that's for the WBO super middleweight title, along with his WBC and WBA titles.
You'd think he'd beat Plant, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think he cleans out everyone in the division.
Manny Pacquiao, Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, that was come out of left field. That's interesting.
Is that because you think Conor McGregor lost to Dustin Poirier, or do you think that he wasn't available quick enough? Or
Golden Boy wanted for the exposure to fight Pacquiao, and you pull off a Jeff Horn victory, then all of a sudden you've got this megastar in Ryan Garcia. So they've got everything to gain and not much to lose.
What else is happening on the international scene that's big that we should know about? What have you heard?
Well, just even Andrew Moloney's division. There's a mega fight with Chocolatito, who was like for a long time the pound for pound king, and he's fighting Juan Francisco Estrada for the WBC and WBA's super title. There's also Ronnie Rios. He's the WBA super bantamweight gold champion, I think, fighting Oscar Negredo, who was supposed to fight Jason Maloney, but ended up with a detached retina. Somehow he's fighting again, only in boxing. Joshua versus Tyson Fury. And that seems like it's just about done. But one of the obstacles was the mandatory. So Usyk is going to fight for an interim title, and then he'll fight the winner of that fight if they take it. Who knows? They might just and they've got in one of the clauses in the contract that there's a rematch. So whatever happens in the first fight, they'll end up fighting again anyway. And another fight coming up is Carl Frampton and Jamel Herring. That's for the WBO super featherweight title.
Carl Frampton, we know from fighting Luke Jackson and beating him a couple of years back.
Yeah, that's right. One obstacle there was Shakur Stevenson, who was the mandatory. He stepped aside for that fight, but it had to happen by December 31 of last year. So there was another obstacle that happened there. But money talks, I suppose, because that fight's back on again. So that's happening, and Stevenson will probably fight the winner. And probably win too.
Interesting, mate. Well, it looks like there's plenty going on in the international scene, and we can't thank you enough for always keeping us up to speed. We might knock it on the head there, and you and I will keep talking.
All right, sounds good.
Mate, another legendary episode of the Tolj Tapes.
Just gets better.
Just gets better.
Our next segment, and a very popular one, Camako Carpool this week. He's got Big Bad Joe Goodall in there, talking about his upcoming fight with Herman Purcell and everything happening out of street.
Expect the unexpected.
So they're on.
They're on, mate, they're on. So how many amateur fights did you have?
85 amateur fights and 7 pro fights.
So you went to Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, I went to Commonwealth Games, an Olympic trial tournament.
Where was that?
The Asian Games, which was the Olympic trials. Didn't end up making it to Olympics, but eventually got a bit of revenge if I get a medal at the World Championships.
Wait, what age did you start boxing?
17.
17?
Yeah. I had my first fight at 17. I only had one youth fight. Yeah, I won a silver at the Commonwealth Games 2014 in Scotland, and then won a bronze at the World Championships.
Okay, I seen that photo of you with the bronze. I was at the World Championships. That's massive.
Yeah. I think Tim Tszyu is probably the face of Australian boxing at the moment. He's middleweight, he's not my weight. But probably for the heavyweights, Justice Honey's gone.
He's actually a super welterweight, mate, but yeah.
Take target of Timmy. Herman's still a big name, man. He dropped Gallen twice.
Yeah.
He's fit, he's very experienced. He's got big power.
A heavyweight super series in Australia. They put that together. So I think the number one rated heavyweight right now is Dempsey McKean, okay? There's Lucas Brown, you have to chuck in the tournament as well. There's Justice Honey, and there's 4 people, I'll be chucking you in there as well. So
What about Gallen?
Next topic, please. I
want to be the first Queenslander who's Put one in the chin again.
There's no Queenslander for him yet?
Well, Herman's a Queenslander, but he lost to him. He did drop him.
Yeah.
But put one in the chin, knock him out.
Oh, Jesus. You alright, go, bro. We must T-bone this guy.
We need a crash right there.
No, chicks love my nose, mate. I don't know, something about the nose. I call it the wand, bro. The wand. I just wave it around and girls start coming, you know?
I like that. And they start fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bigger noise.
Do it again.
It's a bigger threat.
Do it again.
You're going to cut that one out.
That's bad, yeah.
Herman, where you at?
Where you at? This is funny because we're just driving. We don't actually know we're going the right way or not. I'm going to go sparring with no legs, man. One of the worst things you can do is
sit in the car,
you sit in the car or have sex, either one.
Vegan gangster.
We're going to try to get home without no nav map.
Okay.
Alright, this is our goal.
So there we go.
Alright.
On the Camako show.
Last but not least, your goal for 2021.
At least 3 fights, 3 wins. At least.
I better let you out here so you can get out of the car without smashing my car. Otherwise, Luke from Compromised Aspen's gonna smash it.
Camako!
Righto, well, that's another great instalment of Before the Fight, and we hope to catch you on the next one, and keep tuning in. I'm Rob Scheif, you're watching Before the Fight.